Successful management styles of India, Volume 1. What is the difference? We have talked about the reason why I have written this book in earlier, and then we discussed in the first chapter about the ancient Indian leadership, then followed by the leaders during the freedom struggle. Then we talked about in the chapter 2 the traditional Indian management systems like temple management, the festival management, and the great Indian wedding. So while we are discussing this, Gordon was curious to know the why is the traffic management is tough in India. He wanted to know whether it is an application problem or a principal problem. So I explained to Gordon that the traffic management in India is an enigma for many people. Some say it is because of the lack of infrastructure and lack of resources, and some say it is the unlimited freedom experienced and displayed by the public. Whatever may be the reason, this book is not going to give a solution to this traffic problem. And one more management problem, which I call it time management. Some skeptics say it is Indian punctuality. Some say the platter for many of the senior people is full and they are overburdened with workload. Whatever the reasons, these two problems, traffic management as well as the time management, are discussed in this chapter 3 to give an idea that what works elsewhere may not work in India, and some of the innovative or jugaad methods which Indians have followed in these traffic management and time management are still used by some successful managers in the industry also. If you look back, in 1930, United States did not have the elaborate and extensive road work which they have today. So I would say India today is far better than what USA was in 1930. But at the same time, the traffic jams are not ruled out in San Francisco or New York. But what is the difference? The difference in India is that we have the slow-moving vehicles, like I won't say bullock carts in all highways, but definitely the cycles, the two-wheelers, the cars, trucks, and some of them are 30, 40-year-old vehicles. Some of them are the latest. Some go at 80 to 100 kilometers and some go at 20 kilometers. So now this is the unique problem which probably no country has experienced. The chapter 3, we don't discuss a lot on traffic management, but then we talk about how some of these problems are tried to to circumvent by the public. One thing which government tried was the bypass roads, where the cities and towns, most of these main highways, they called national highways, were used by the the armies, not only British but earlier Mughals and other armies used those roads. So they were going through the towns and villages. So one solution for the traffic problems is bypassing those cities. So it is a little bit of extra cost for the government, but still the traffic or the public who are not supposed to go to one city or a town, they can bypass the town or city. So that is one solution which India has adopted, or it is still many cities are not excluded, but some of the towns are excluded for the bypasses. And there is one more thing called ring roads, and this is also to circumvent the traffic. Now, these two are quoted in this book mainly to give illustrations how the management and staff alike they use this ring road approach or indirect approach to solve the problems, or the bypassing, which is very, very prevalent in India. Like the top boss would bypass the hierarchy and then go to the bottom level, and so also the some of the staff would bypass the normal hierarchy and then go to the top. And it is being encouraged by some of the superiors to get the real picture of the corporation, or some of the staff use it to get a good access to the senior management, which would probably help their career progress. In either case, this bypassing and ring routes are normal in the Indian corporate scenario. Another one more thing is about the appraisals or even communication is also not a straightforward affair, and many successful leaders have taken a shortcut to give indirect messages to the people and to their staff. This is something which will be dealt in the book in at the appropriate time. The next one is about time management. I would say again, this time management is not part of this book to to resolve. But however, this is very important because some of the projects which are delayed and then some of the projects which overrun the budget, these two both are attributed to the delays. Of course, there is also a reason that lack of resources would also delay the projects. So these are the applications which I would say are not something which India can be proud. And these two, once resolved, would probably take India to be a superpower. Right now, many consider India as a developing country, though India is the sixth largest the economy with a high population of 1.2, 1.3 billion people. The per capita income is low. So that probably is one reason why many consider India is a developing country. But if you really look at their defense facilities and space agencies, some and nuclear capabilities, even I would say the medical facilities, which are I would say the third largest pharma industries in India. So several anomalies are faced by people that you find in Bombay. Somebody was telling that you have a 30 floor skyscraper by the side of a slum or a poor man's colony. So I would say this anomalies exist in India, where some of the richest people and the best brains exist. As you know, many of the top companies in US, they are held by Indians as CEOs. At the same time, there are many people in India who are deprived of formal education. So this kind of anomalies are plenty in India. So depending on the eye which you have, you look at the best in India or the worst in India, and both cannot be denied or argued that they are wrong. So this controversies or anomalies exist in India, and I would say India is not a country; it's a world on its own. It's like saying that all countries in the world are not as powerful or as rich or as the US or some of these developed countries, or all countries are not as poor as in some of the countries in Africa. So world is a mix of rich and poor, smart and dumb, good and bad. So as much as the variance is there in the world, so much variance is there in India. So I call it India is a mini world, or some call it subcontinent. So Indian subcontinent, but I would say it's a world of its own. So this chapter 3 talks about the applications which are not successful in India, both traffic and time management, and it's a short subject chapter. I tried to just give a glimpse of the problem, but we didn't include any solution because the solution is still awaited. And why is that they are mentioned these problems? Because the solutions which we try to attempted to get over these problems are used or some other parts of the book. So what is different? So India is different. The problems which are easily solved and in elsewhere may be still a big problem in India, like inequalities and other things, or some of the solutions which India has maybe are useful outside. So what is the difference in India? That's what exactly this chapter 3 talks about it. And I am Rajsekar Polapragada. I am giving a glimpse of my book by this message, the voice message. You can see some few slides in the chapter. This is the smallest chapter I have written in this in the book, but it's very critical in the sense India is still struggling with both the problems, traffic management and time management. But apart from this, there are some more problems which are not covered in this book. One is corruption. The other is lack of unity. Probably it is a result of democracy, but there are many solutions are waiting general consensus and approval. But what are approved are still are not implemented, or they're delayed. So otherwise, the achievements of India are unparalleled in the humanity, like feeding 1.3 billion people, which is not done by anybody, probably paralleled by China. The second thing is about from a stark underdeveloped country in 75 years back, we are now the third largest defense, and we have got the space and the nuclear fields, where without the help of the Western world, we have the self-sufficiency. So this is actually the difference between India and outside world. and how these are useful or maybe hindrance to the successful management styles of India, we'll discuss in the other chapters. Thank you. This is Rajsekhar Polapagada, the author, and my book, Successful Management Styles of India. I want the youngsters of India to understand that India is different, which has got a very long history of thousands of years. When the world was still sleeping, India was awake and uh, was ahead of others. But last 1,000 years, we have lost not only our freedom, but also our riches, and our culture is still not recovered. The most important thing which I would uh, ask the youngsters to be careful is the confidence and optimism. Never lose the confidence and optimism. Uh, if if time is lost, we may recover. If money is lost, we may earn back. But if the confidence is lost and the hope is lost, everything is lost. So this is the end of the third chapter. What is different in the application of management principles in India? Thank you.